10,000 years ago, one of your ancestors went into labor. There wasn't a doctor, there wasn't a hospital, there wasn't even a safe place to give birth. If she didn't survive, your family tree would end right there. You would never exist. Not your parents, not your grandparents, not even you. And this wasn't some rare tragedy. For almost all of human history, every family faced the same challenge. So here's the mystery. How did humanity survive pregnancy long before modern medicine? Because scientists believe humans have some of the most difficult births in the entire animal kingdom. Other mammals give birth with relatively little trouble. Humans often don't. So why didn't our species disappear? The answer begins millions of years before the first baby was ever born. It starts with a trade-off that evolution never completely solved.
At first, none of this makes sense. If childbirth was so dangerous, why didn't evolution fix it? Because evolution wasn't trying to create the perfect birth. It was trying to solve two problems at the same time. Millions of years ago, our ancestors began walking upright. That changed the shape of the human pelvis. Then something else happened. Our brains started getting bigger, much bigger. A wider pelvis made childbirth easier, but walking less efficient. A narrower pelvis made walking easier, but childbirth far more dangerous. There was no perfect solution. Humans evolved with a compromise, and every mother has lived with that compromise ever since. Many scientists think this is also why human babies are born earlier than other mammals. Not because they're fully developed, but because if they stayed in the womb much longer, their heads could become too large to pass through the birth canal. That's why human babies arrive unusually helpless. A newborn deer can stand within hours. A newborn horse can run the same day. A human baby can't even hold up its own head. In many ways, human babies are born before they're truly ready. And for ancient mothers, that made pregnancy only the beginning. Because first, they had to realize they were pregnant at all. Imagine waking up one morning, feeling different. Not sick, not injured, just different. 10,000 years ago, that might have been the first sign that another human was growing inside you. But there was no way to know for sure. No pregnancy tests, no ultrasounds, no doctors. For weeks, pregnancy wasn't something you confirmed, it was something you slowly suspected. A missed monthly cycle, constant fatigue, food that suddenly smelled unbearable. Some mornings, even the smell of meat or smoke could trigger nausea. Ironically, scientists believe this may have protected both mother and baby by helping pregnant women avoid foods more likely to carry harmful bacteria or natural toxins. As the weeks passed, the signs became impossible to ignore. Her belly grew, her movements slowed, and the women around her noticed. Mothers, grandmothers, women who had witnessed many births before. They didn't rely on machines. They relied on experience. Their knowledge, passed from one generation to the next, was the closest thing ancient humans had to prenatal care. But knowing she was pregnant didn't make life easier, because the tribe still had to survive, and so did she. Pregnancy didn't mean rest. 10,000 years ago, there was no maternity leave. If the tribe moved, she moved. If water was miles away, she walked. If food had to be gathered, she gathered it. Survival came first. Researchers believe regular movement was a normal part of a healthy pregnancy throughout most of human history. But this wasn't exercise. It was survival. Imagine walking for hours while carrying another life inside you. Every step demanded more energy. Every missed meal made tomorrow harder. And as the baby grew, so did the strain on her body. Finding food wasn't guaranteed. Some days the tribe ate well. Other days, they found almost nothing. Pregnancy increased the need for energy, protein, iron, and other nutrients. But nature didn't provide them on demand. Both mother and baby had to survive on whatever food was available. The human body is remarkably resilient and often prioritizes a growing baby, even when the mother isn't getting enough nutrition. But there were limits. If hunger lasted too long, both lives were at risk. Yet
Starvation wasn't always the greatest danger. The deadliest threat was something they couldn't hunt, couldn't outrun, and couldn't even see.
You might think the greatest threat to an ancient pregnancy was a predator or starvation, but for many mothers, it was infection, a small cut, contaminated water, or bacteria entering the body during childbirth. Without antibiotics or emergency medical care, even an ordinary infection could become life-threatening. Childbirth itself was especially dangerous. Heavy bleeding, a baby in the wrong position, or an infection after delivery. Today, many of these complications can be treated. 10,000 years ago, there was often little anyone could do, and the danger didn't end once the baby was born. Both mother and newborn remained extremely vulnerable during the days that followed. So how did humanity survive conditions that seem almost impossible today? Not because childbirth was easy, and not because ancient people understood modern medicine. They survived because they relied on something every generation inherited from the one before it: experience. Mothers who had given birth before, grandmothers who recognized the signs of labor, caregivers who knew how to support a mother through delivery and care for a newborn afterward. That shared knowledge and the willingness to help one another became one of humanity's greatest survival tools, and it's the reason the chain of generations was never broken. Think about everything ancient mothers didn't have. No pregnancy tests, no ultrasounds, no hospitals, no emergency surgery, no antibiotics, and yet humanity survived. Not because pregnancy was easy, but because the human body is remarkably resilient, because generations of women passed down knowledge through experience, and because mothers rarely faced pregnancy completely alone. Grandmothers, relatives, experienced caregivers, entire communities helped protect both mother and child. That cooperation gave our species a better chance of surviving one of life's greatest challenges. Now think about it. Somewhere, 10,000 years ago, one exhausted mother survived an impossible pregnancy. Then her daughter survived. Then her granddaughter. Again and again. Across hundreds of generations. That chain was never broken. Because if it had, even once, you wouldn't be here today. In a very real sense, your existence is proof that countless mothers overcame extraordinary odds long before modern medicine ever existed. The next time you hear someone say pregnancy has always been easy, remember this. For most of human history, every birth was a remarkable act of survival. This was just one chapter in the story of pregnancy. If you're curious about the science, history, and mysteries behind every stage of pregnancy, subscribe to Pregnancy Decoded. And I'll see you in the next one.